You've got the whole screen. I'm like 10% now or 5% now. Tell us what you're doing.
Wow. Hi, everyone. So Zach and I are trying a new format. Actually, we're challenging ourselves even further and bringing to you, rather than just our ramblings on music business stuff and what it's like to be self-employed, what we're doing right now and songs that we are writing right now that few, if anybody, has heard outside of our living rooms. So just so happens that this is my week to bring a new song. Zach, you haven't heard this song. So
Which I'm super excited about because so to our listener in the chat, Anne texted me earlier today and was like, "Hey, I got a new song for you." And, I'm excited. I liked your last song, but I'm really curious about what this is going to sound like.
so
So
so I hope you like this at least as much as the last song.
I'm sure you're a great
And
songwriter.
if
So
not, this is good a place as anything to just try it out in front of people, right?
you,
And
that's true. So Anne, take us away, man.
okay. Shouldn't be so hard to speak the truth. I'm always afraid of what it might do. It's much easier. It's much easier to lie. Shouldn't be so hard to tell you how I feel, but it makes the moment a little too real. It's much easier. It's much easier to smile. And so I'm left to apologize for all the ways I hide behind my smile, for all the ways I convince myself to say it's much easier. It's much easier to lie. Shouldn't be so hard. It's much easier. It's much easier to hide. And so I'm left to apologize for all the ways I hide behind my smile, for all the ways I convince myself to say it's much easier. It's much easier to lie. And there you have it, folks. Brand new song from me.
That's some dope stuff. That is super cool. So, first of all, I like the hook of that. The thing. You tell me if this is actually the hook because I think this is a good exercise in
So no,
songwriting.
this will be good to get feedback from someone who's never heard the song before. And yeah.
So, first question is: did you intend to have a hook?
I don't know that I intend. I guess I did subconsciously because when I first started writing the song, I had what I think is the hook. We'll see if what I think is the hook is what you think's the hook.
I think the hook is it's much easier to lie.
Exactly. So I had
Yeah.
that.
I think that's the part.
Is the title of this tune. Easier to lie. So I had that, and then I got stuck. And anyway, I had first verse and that hook, and then I didn't know where to go.
Well, first of all, I think the hook is super strong. I think that I'll walk away singing this, and I can just say from a producer standpoint, I know, like if you were to walk into my studio, which is behind me and looks like a wreck, because
which is there.
It is a wreck. But I know if you were to walk into here, I would have a definite idea of where, like the Zach Sloan sound would go. What do you think you're gonna do with it?
So I've been playing with this a little bit, and I've been playing around on GarageBand and adding different tracks. And so right now I've got kind of like a shaker track going that comes in like halfway and then kind of fades out. And I'm leaving some space, and I've got a cello track in there, and some harmony. So anyway, that's what I'm playing with right now. And then
Did you play the cello like live?
I did. So it was fun to get out cello and just see what I could do. So
That's
yeah,
super
right
cool.
now my little basic track has a drum loop in it for part of it, has octave mandolin, has two vocal parts that are me singing with myself, and the cello. So it's not kind of my typical guitar, bass, drums things that I've been doing, which has been fun. So anyway, I'm playing with that right now, and we'll see
Interesting.
because I've shared this with all of like 3 people now. So as I get some feedback on what's working and what might need filled out, because this is
So
this is a
this is like a very interesting thing to me because I was actually hearing cello on that too. That's why I sort of
that's
picked your
cool.
brain about it. And that might just be because I got a cello, and I can't remember if I told you that or not. I have a cello now.
Guys, you
Okay,
recently got it,
cool. And I have a
which is
mandolin, which is like over there. But what I was hearing was this is very odd. Cello, mandolin, probably because those are the new things I have in my.
that's cool.
But like I would use like your typical mandolin to supplement your mandolin part you're
I think
playing.
so too. 'Cause then you'd have that nice chop going, and
Yes,
that's a little higher pitched. Yeah.
and then here's what I was hearing is to almost go, and this is why I probably shouldn't produce your album and you should do it yourself. I would go electronic halfway through it. I would give you like a
Oh,
beat drop,
interesting.
which
That's
is
kind of
which is terrible because I don't actually do that, but I could hear it as you get to that second chorus to
ah
have it build and have it fall, not like super dancey, but
right.
definitely like almost a synth kick. Um,
Interesting.
because there's a
Interesting.
definite heartbeat to that song.
Yeah. Well, that's good if there's a groove. I'm going for that.
Yeah. But isn't it
Don't know
funny
if I
how
would pull it off
you and I
by myself.
started the same on it and then we're like just different directions?
There you go.
Like it's very
So
interesting to
yeah,
me.
cool.
So tell it. So you started off. You mentioned before we started recording that you had been doing morning pages. Can you talk about that?
Right. So for those of you familiar with Julia Cameron's The Artist Way, one of her main tools she has do is you do morning pages, and so every morning you write 3 pages longhand. And I've been doing this pretty consistently for a while, but I've recommitted to it because I'm redoing the program with a friend. And so, as I was mentioning, I had this first verse months ago, back in April, but then I didn't know where to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just this past week, I like first thing morning pages. The rest of the lyrics came in without any editing. It was just like this easy stream. It's like, there they are. So, and not to say that they won't change,
Right.
but the beauty of morning pages for me is a lot of things because it grounds me. It lets me sort through the jumble of thoughts and emotions that I'm having, and generally lets me not just kind of smush my thoughts all over everybody else that I run into throughout the day. Not quite as much. They're not always as productive as, oh, I write a song every morning. That'd be cool, but that doesn't happen. But sometimes things have gotten still enough, or there's enough sludge that I've gotten rid of that a few little crystalline pieces finally come through. And that happens for me more often than not when I do morning pages than when I don't. So
is that
it's a powerful tool.
Yeah, but you think it's a function of exercising your creativeness every day, or your creativity?
I think so, because one of my own rules that I try to follow, sometimes more successfully than others, is that whole welcome the muse thing. And so if I'm making space and showing up and being willing,
seduce the muse.
Seduce the muse, and it's that it's the consistency and training our brains that creativity is something that I do, and it's not just something that sometimes it happens or not. Sometimes I like the results more than others, but and it's permission to make bad art that I don't have to show anybody
until you live stream it on Twitch to one person currently, but that's fine. Thank you, person.
Yeah, thank you, person.
So yeah, and I guess a couple things I wanted to ask you about. So it came lyric first.
Kind of. Actually, it didn't. It came lyric and music first. At least that first verse.
Okay. Can
Okay,
you?
because I was messing around on this instrument. This is my latest muse is octave mandolin. This is a really
Okay.
beautiful. We'll just give a shout out to Bill Bussman and Old Wave Mandolins, who is the maker of this fine instrument. Anyway, it's my latest just songwriting tool and thing that I'm having a lot of fun on because it's opening my ear to different things and
Cool.
learning different three and four finger, or I should say voiced chords, because there's some of that I'm just playing three. I'm really playing six strings, but three note.
Right. Right.
um, and so I get a lot of sus chords and things. That's been great. So anyway, I was messing around on this and got that first verse and chords at the same time. So that was cool.
Oh.
And then, but later this week, the rest of the lyrics came, and then I had to go and figure out the chorus chords. So that it was kind of a mismatch of, I had a little bit of a melody lyric idea,
Right.
then
Right.
I had lyric, then I went back and got the rest of the chords, and which I may still mess with because there's a couple that I'm not sure if they're quite what I want them to be.
Right. Can I? This is like me as a songwriter picking your brain. I know when I get stuck, I have a typical chord progression I'll sort of fall back to. Do you have that
Right.
problem ever where you're like, I need a chorus? I know 1 5 6 4 will always work. Do you ever do
I
that?
do that, and because I'm primarily a bass player, I'll hear the bass line, or I can hear the root of the chord that I want to go to, and because I think we're all, well, I shouldn't say that. We're many of us are, we know what chord progressions work, whether we know it's the actual chords that they are, but we can hear it, or know when it doesn't work. And so I definitely fall back to things that I'm sure of course I'm stealing from other songs that I've heard. It's just whether I'm aware of it or not. So
Right.
yeah, or else I know that, oh, it really sounds good if you go to the 4 on the chorus.
Isn't
I
that
do
funny that there's like this mathematical thing that we know works?
Right. Well, and there's just, if we analyze some of our favorite songs, that's what they do. And it's like, oh yeah, that sounds like what people do here, right? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess another thing that I guess I kind of want to bounce off you is like, what do you do? Because you had mentioned this song took a while, but let's pretend there was a songwriting crunch and you had to
Okay.
get it done in a day. What would you
Right.
do if you got stuck? Like, what's the Ann Luna like break through a barrier type move?
So it depends. I guess it depends on my mood and what I'm stuck on. If I'm stuck on lyrics and I'm not completely frustrated, I will do speed writing where I'll have a prompt or not, but my only rule is I'll do a timer like for 5 minutes. And the only rule is to keep the pen moving, and so it doesn't matter if it's gibberish, but it gets past the censor. And instead of me deliberating what rhymes with love,
Right.
or
that's a thing.
Yeah. And because that's a thing, because we can do that. And so if I'm getting too stuck in that, I'll do speed writing. And if I'm stuck on, I can't come up with anything, I'll use prompts. And so I'll get like a scent or an object, or I'll look at even the beginnings of a poem, and I just need something to get me going. And from that, usually, like truthfully, in 2 minutes of timed writing, most of the time I can find a seed of something I like. So
yeah,
I can go with that. If I'm stuck on groove, drum loops have been my friend. And so I'll switch different drum loops and I'll say, oh, that feels so much better. And usually with that, once I've got a groove and some loops that I'm working with, other things usually fall into place pretty easily.
Right. Yeah, I found that too.
Stuck from that, I will step away from it and I'll go take a walk or fix myself a snack or do something completely different and just like loosen the grip on my own frustration.
Yeah.
So
I find that works.
Not doing that all the time.
Yeah, I find that those are very similar things that I do, and I have this. I forget the songwriter I stole this from, but I heard a talk given by a songwriter who I respect, and I can't remember their name off the top of my head now. But they said they would go to Elton John songbooks and just see what Elton would do, and then they would
That's pretty
go.
cool.
They're like, okay, so Elton would change key in this scenario. I'm gonna try that, and
That's
I've
cool.
I've sort of cribbed a lot of that. But I like
Nice.
your. I actually I think the most useful thing I took out of that was the speed writing. I haven't done that before, where you just
It's
crank.
that's been a big tool for me because it gives me kind of permission to be creative when I'm not necessarily feeling creative.
Yes. Well, and I just think back at my time as a fourth grade teacher. Like I used to have my students do that, where like I don't
Yeah,
care what you're writing, just be writing. And
right.
why have I not been doing that for myself? I know it works for kids. Why wouldn't I implement that? I think it's a great piece of advice.
So yeah, it works for me. And like I've emphasized in our videos before, accountability works for me. So
Yeah.
if I've got someone else that I can say, hey, I need to write today or whatever, and and that works well too if somebody else has given you the prompt, because then yeah. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
colors can be prompts, feelings, different phrases like "I remember" or "the last time," and I'm borrowing that from Natalie Goldberg, who has a
Wow.
lot of just creative writing prompts and very cool stuff. That yeah, I transferred to songwriting. So yeah,
Well, and every single thing that you've said, um, like as far as prompts, like color, emotion, feelings, and then the specific examples you gave, I've all seen when I've received requests for commercials. They're like, we
oh,
want
that's
this emotion, we want this color. Like literally, I've seen
right.
commercial requests like, we need something for yellow, and you're like,
Right.
okay, and it'll say like not Coldplay's yellow, but like Sunshine Yellow, and that's what we
Right.
need. And so those
Right.
are useful things to do because if you're an aspiring songwriter, I could see that becoming part of your business.
It does because you're becoming a wordsmith and what do I want to say? Because you're playing with emotions through words and music as well as images,
Totally.
and so you learn different tricks of doing that. And yeah, and like you're saying too, is looking at how do other songwriters do that and why does that work so well.
Right. Man.
Yeah.
Cool, Anne. So let's talk a little bit about two things. I hope our viewers have noticed. I've got a new cool editing trick I'm doing, and I hope it works out because we don't know yet because this is the first time I was trying it. And two, let's talk a little bit about the songwriting challenge that you and I talked about in the video that we recorded and then scrapped.
So what you guys missed is, so Zach and I have been doing these videos for I guess over a year now, doing our
Yes.
break
Oh,
blog,
the
and
blog vlog.
yeah. So there's other songwriting challenges where we know people who are posting a song a week. We're easing ourselves into this a little bit so that Zach and I are trading off, and so about every 2 weeks you'll get a new ish, maybe once a month. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. But for our new videos, you get to hear brand new songs, and so I went first, so you get to hear from Zach next time. And he's yeah.
Which gives me a little bit of an advantage because we agreed to do this, shot the video. I was editing it, and I was like, two things happened. One is the internet connection we did was not good, and two, I wasn't great at editing it. And while Anne was playing, I was distracting. So hopefully the new camera angle thing I'm doing is working.
Hopefully so. I also played a different song too, so I don't
I
know.
liked
No.
your other song too, but the other thing is that all that to say is that Anne and I have known about this for about 2 weeks, and so I have a head start that she did not have.
So anyway, but that head start will go away soon, my friend.
Yeah, you should have me do 2 songs in a row. Like I'll do.
So
Then,
could be an idea. Then it gives me a head start, huh?
yeah, hey, you know what? All's fair in love and war. So cool. So in about 2 weeks, Anne and I are going to come back. I'm going to play a song for you. In fact, the song that I'm going to be doing for you all was the song I wrote right after Anne and I did our last video that we scrapped. And my band has actually started recording it because I liked it so much. So you may have a recorded version of that we may play.
Ow, ow.
Yeah, it's cool, man. And I'll talk a little bit about that then. But in between now and then, Anne, so you've got like approximately a month before you're on the hot seat for a song.
So
What are you gonna do?
so yeah. So my plan is I do have another songwriting accountability partner that we try to report
What?
in every week with something. And some weeks I'm better than others, even if
She
it's
has
just like
two
an
accountability partners. This is bullshit.
so I have three.
What?
Three. Yeah, because I also have an artist way accountability partner. And then I have a songwriting accountability partner. Then I got you, Zach. I know, because I know it works for me. If you find a tool that's useful, I say overuse it.
You know, one of my favorite songwriters of all time, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, says anything that's worth doing is worth overdoing. And I
So for
think,
me, it's
Anne, you've got
accountability
that.
partners.
So what are you gonna
Anyway,
do?
point being, if I've got a month, I've got approximately 4 songs that I can try out between then and be picking from that for our next video. So hopefully I'll have something that's, you never know. With me, I've also learned that there's nothing like a deadline. And, last minute's like, I've got it. I've got it. Or at least I've got the thing that I'm most excited about in the moment. So
That's fantastic. All right, and before we sign off, tell everybody where they can find you.
you can find me at AnneLunamusic.com. That's ANNELUNA music.com. You can also find me on Facebook, facebook.com/AnneLunaMusic. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. All these places you can find me. So don't be
Absolutely.
a stranger. I also have a newsletter you can sign up for on my website.
Which
Come
is
check
super
out
cool.
what I'm doing. So yeah.
Yeah. And you can find me at zaksloan.com. It's ZAKSLOAN.com. And Twitter and Instagram and all those places. It's just ZAK_SLOAN. And Facebook, I'm Zach Sloan Official. But if you just go to zaksloan.com, that'll take you everywhere. And at my website, and is your blog up and running?
My blog is up and running.
Okay, so you can go to either of our websites and get links
Either of our websites. Yep.
to the blog that we do. Sweet. Well, Anne, I loved the song. Tell us the name one more time.
Easier to lie.
Cool. Well, hopefully that winds up on your next record because I really enjoyed it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, friends.
Let me
Till next
sign
time.
us off. Peace out, y'all.